homeschooling really is a responsibility that you have with your spouse. It's your responsibility to educate your child and to develop the steps to achieve the goals that you set. Now, for some people, the goals that they desire to set will be at home. You will be achieving these goals in your home. So it's your responsibility to set those goals. Your children can have input on the process. They can say, Mom, I really like music. Mom, I really want to study China. Mom, I really want to do these kinds of things. And that's great. I mean, to have engaged students, to have kids who want to learn and know what they want to learn, you're halfway there in achieving home education success when you do that. But ultimately, the responsibility for educating your child is yours. You're the parent. It's your responsibility. So create that big picture that I was talking about, that vision, those goals. What do you want to achieve for your children, your child, when they are done school? What's your big picture vision? And it's really a great idea to have this written down so that you can refer to it over the years. Now, you may not be someone who is committed to a 12-year plan or a 9-year plan or a 3-year plan, but still create a vision for your children. What do you want them to look like? What sort of things do you want them to achieve by the time they hit adulthood? It's really a great thing to do. But right now, what we're going to do is look at a smaller chunk. We're going to look at 1 year at a time. How am I going to develop a plan for 1 year, for this year in my homeschooling? Well, you're going to create a plan, a program plan that will help you to walk through your year. We're also going to talk about how to evaluate your program, how to evaluate the progress of your students. And we're also going to talk about how to record the progress of your student. What do I need to do? Do I even need to write anything down? What's the big deal about a plan? Why do I even need to develop one? Well, it gives you structure. It gives you a foundation for your education for the year and beyond. It gives you something to build on so that the months, the weeks, the days are easier to walk into because you know what your goals are for the year, for the month, for the week, for the day. It provides a foundation, the building blocks that you will use to achieve those educational goals for your child. It also allows you to tailor your programming to meet the needs of your student. You may have a student who is incredibly musical, and you may have a student who's incredibly science-oriented. Your plans for them may look somewhat different. You may have some components that are the same, but you may have some components that are developed specifically with their skills, their weaknesses, their goals in mind. So you can tailor your education to your students. It also builds your confidence in your ability to meet educational goals. Sometimes in the early years, before I had developed a system for creating a plan that helped me, there were times when I felt just a little bit lost in my homeschooling. I was like, what do I do now? I'm not exactly sure where to go from here. And when I began to build a stronger plan, a plan that was good for me, when I had those moments, I was able to pull out my plan and go, yeah, those are the things I wanted to accomplish. That's what we wanted to do. And it would help to set me back on course and build my confidence as our children's educator. It also provides evidence that you have set learning goals and plans in case of a challenge to your home education program by Child Protection Services, by school boards, by ministries of education. This does occur. There are people who will come and say, what are you doing with your child? So this is a way for you to say, here's the plans I have, here's the goals I have, and this is what I'm doing to work towards them. So a plan is very valuable to you. The uniqueness of your plan will serve your child's special abilities. And that's one thing that I really would like to focus on, is that you can focus on your child's abilities and build their strengths and build their strengths and build their strengths, while gently also working on those weaknesses. When they're good at language, you can build a plan that helps them to excel at language while also working on those weaknesses. But when they feel like their strengths are being focused on, it gives them the confidence to then be able to build those weaknesses too. So it allows you to strategize to work towards your child's heart too, so that they desire to learn. Each child's program plan will be unique to them. So when you are creating a plan, you may create components that will transfer across students, but you will create a plan for each student to be able to have to serve their needs. So what sort of goals are you going to make? What's going to be in this plan? Well, you'll have goals for certain subjects. You'll have goals because we want every student to succeed. So you're going to have goals, educational goals for English, for math, for history and geography, science, some of those core subjects. In different provinces, there are different requirements, but those are some of the core subjects. You may have art, physical education, music, other languages, home economics, volunteering, developing character goals. Never underestimate the significance and importance in developing the character of your child, and that those goals are very significant. So I'm going to walk you through the development of a goal. So help you to see how you can maybe pick a subject area and develop a specific goal for that. So first of all, you're going to figure out what you desire to achieve, and you're going to be pretty specific in that. So for example, we're going to look at math. The goal that we have for math for Sarah is that she'll grow in her understanding and her competence in multiplication. Specifically, I want Sarah to learn her multiplication tables for 1 to 12 times. Okay, there's my goal. How am I going to achieve that goal? Well, I'm going to want to lay out the resources and the methods that I'm going to use to achieve that goal for Sarah. So the different resources don't necessarily have to be workbooks or formal curriculum, but they can be. So you may lay out some workbooks and the formal curriculum that you are planning. You may lay out the games that you desire to use. Math, there are so many amazing games that you can use for math, for history, for geography, for science. You can use an abundance of games to help build the skills for your student, for your child. Sometimes people, especially in the older years, you may actually have a tutor or an online parent-chosen course that you're having your student in. Maybe your child's in grade 12 and you just don't quite feel competent in grade 12 chemistry. And so you'd like to use maybe a course from an academy, a course from the Tree of Life. Help them with some of those courses. So you can lay that out as one of the resources or material used. You may do private music lessons, use DVDs or YouTube videos. Audio books are an excellent resource. Audio teaching resources. There's so many excellent audio teaching resources to use. For math, for example, you can use skip counting songs. For history, There's amazing audios that you can use. For language arts, you may write out that one of your resources is letter writing. Your children may develop pen pals and write to pen pals. You may use copy work, dictation, spelling correction. Those are resources to help you achieve your goal. So what are we going to use in this math example? Well, for this child, for Sarah, maybe I'll use the resource I'm going to use are skip counting songs. I'm going to help them learn and memorize skip counting songs. I'm going to play math multiplication games, and we'll buy some multiplication workbooks as well. So those are the resources that I'm going to use to achieve this goal. Where can I get these resources? Well, there's a multitude of resources and a multitude of resource providers. On our website at homeschool.today, we have a list under resources of curriculum providers. So here's a listing of some of them. We also have a listing of free resources and supports that you can use to help you to find your resources. So go to homeschooling.today, look under resources, and then you can find the specifics that will be good for your child, for your program. So then how will you know if you achieve your goals? That's a part of the evaluation. What method of evaluation are you going to use? Well, methods of evaluation are specific to the child. Some kids may not do well with testing. You may have a child who just has extreme anxiety under testing situations. So doing formal tests regularly may not be the best option for you to use to evaluate your student success. Or you may have a child who in the older years, you need that evaluation. So you are going to make sure that you evaluate your child using testing materials so that you have actual marks to show what they've accomplished in the program that they've done. So your methods are going to be specific to your child and your child's needs. They may also be specific to the subject. Math, it's easy to give a math test. English, sometimes it's a little bit harder to give an English test. So you may use other methods of evaluation, which I will go into in just a little bit. And the methods will be specific to the timing and frequency. Some provinces are going to require you to provide updates. So the type of evaluation you will do may depend on when your progress reports are due. It may depend on how confident you're feeling in what your child is learning. So timing and frequency will be specific to your needs. So here's some of the methods of evaluations that you can use. You can use progress reports, which, like I said, some provinces will require. You can use unit tests. At the end of a math book, you have a unit test. If you're doing, say, an advanced biology curriculum, you may have a unit test. There are testing options available. You may keep a portfolio of your child's work. So you keep selections of their work and place it in a portfolio so that you can have that to look back on, to reflect on, or to use in the future as needed. You can watch your child. We are our kids' parents. When we're teaching them at home every day, we're going to have a pretty good idea of where they are if we're watching them, which comes down to report cards. You may develop a report card for your child if you desire, but it's important to remember that report cards are typically for the parent to be able to figure out where their child is, and you already know. So a report card, I did it on occasion, but mostly when my kids were younger. Notes on progress, journal how they're doing. Keep track, write those notes down to see what's going on. Work samples filed in a binder. Provincial tests, some people may opt or may be required to do provincial testing. Canadian Test of Basic Skills is available to many students, And you may decide on your own to do a monthly evaluation or a weekly evaluation or even a little daily check-in. So those are forms of evaluation that you could use. So in our math example for multiplication, the evaluation that I'm going to set out for Sarah is that I'm going to play a game of multiplication card at the end of each week, and I'm just going to record how many correct responses she gets, and I'm going to record how many errors she gets. So that's the evaluation method that I'm going to use for this goal for Sarah. And then how will I know if we've succeeded in achieving our goal? Well, for Sarah here, I'm going to determine that if she's accurate 90% of the time, then I'm going to say we've successfully achieved that goal. And I'm going to mark down the exact day that I think we achieved that goal. So there's my goal for math for Sarah. The province-specific requirements are available. There's a summary of things that are required in provinces at homeschool.today. So you can go to our legal page and you can find that. For very specific information, that's also available to HSLDA members on their website. Some provinces are going to require very specific information from parents, maybe a program plan, maybe an annual or a biannual progress reports, evaluation description. It is very important that you know and understand the requirements of you as a home educating parent in your province. Check out those forms on the website. So I'm going to give you some examples of other program plan samples, because there is not one way of creating a program plan. A program plan that works for me, the way I lay it out, the way I structure it, may not work for you. Setting those goals the way I described, that may not be your cup of tea. You may want to use another method of setting goals. So I'm going to go through a number of program plans that you could potentially look at, but you can create your own method that works for you as well. So here's a sample, a simple sample of a program plan. Lay out the core subjects at the bottom, lay out the other subjects. I'm going to make sure that we read a novel a month, that my child reads a novel a month. I'm going to make sure that I read a novel a month. We're going to do poetry one time a week, and we're going to read 3 poems. We're going to do books on tape, listen to books on tapes, novels 4 times a year. For math, I'm going to do this math curriculum, workbooks 5A and 5B. In history, well, we're going to study ancient civilizations, and we're going to study Asian geography. In science, we're going to study human body and mealworms. And I'm going to use this writing program, and we are going to write to pen pals. We're going to find pen pals, and we're going to write. By the way, there are a lot of homeschool pen pal programs, so you can find a lot of kids who are interested in writing. Language art. And then I have some others, non-core subjects that I have goals for as well. I'm going to do 3 sports for 8 weeks each. I'm going to do private music lessons. I'm going to do some pottery and crafts, maybe pottery lessons, maybe a craft class. I'm not sure. I'm going to do a daily Bible study with my children. We're going to do other languages. I'm going to do a Spanish study and a typing program, because it's important that my child know how to type in today's age. Oh, and we're going to do drama classes too. So this is really a simple program that I've laid out. Now the next page is the exact same program, but a bit more detail. So I have filled in a lot more blanks in this program. Same stuff, but I have filled in a lot more. Maybe because on days that I'm just not sure what to do, I know that we're doing ancient civilizations, but I need to write out the books I'm going to do. So on days when I'm not sure, I'm going to go, oh, we haven't looked at that book yet. And I'm going to go grab it and we're going to study it. Or, oh my goodness, language arts, I'm at a loss of what to do. Well, let's pull out our prefix and suffixes games. Or let's watch some Shakespeare plays. So this plan, every plan, is designed to help you to achieve the goals that you have for your child. some other samples, some other ideas on how you can lay it out. Maybe you want to lay out your program plan based on what you're going to do for the week. So you have your goals. And so I've decided that we're going to do 20 minutes per subject. The beauty of homeschooling is that times are often very flexible, but maybe this is a rough idea of what you want to do. So on Monday, I'm going to do 20 minutes of Latin, 20 minutes of spelling, Latin roots, that is. I love Latin roots for the little kids. They find it fun too. So Latin is not onerous. Maybe I shouldn't have put that first on the list, that you think every homeschool child learns Latin. That's not true. The Latin roots certainly are fun. Spelling, read. Well, there's 1 hour. Math, Old Testament history, language review. There's another. Spanish. Oh, I'm going to read to the kids. And piano. Well, there's another. Well, that's 3 solid hours. That is more than enough for us to do. And you know what? Maybe some days I may not get to everything, but these are my goals. This is the schedule I have. And some people like to be very scheduled. So be very scheduled. So this is just a sample daily scheduling plan. Here's a subject intensive one. Oh my goodness, there's a lot in this one. So I'm going to read this history textbook with my kids. And I'm talking a fun history textbook. I'm not talking just dates and times. So this textbook was really fun to read. And on September 10th, we're going to do chapter 1A. On the week of September 17th, we're going to do chapter 1B. So I laid that out. Just another way to potentially do some of your scheduling and program planning. So there are a great variety of program planning options. Develop a plan and a method that's going to work for you. You may pick bits and pieces from what I've talked about, or you may hear things that you go, I think maybe that would work for me, or I think maybe this would work for me. Feel free to do that. This is your plan. Something that works for you, something that's going to meet the needs of your child, and it will meet the legislative requirements of your program. Program plans are flexible. You're not tied to them. You can change them. You can modify them as necessary. Don't feel like once you have written it, you are done and you are tied to this thing. You can modify things. The beauty of homeschooling. So, and that's when things aren't working. Here's some thoughts. Take a break, change things up, plan a field trip. You may want a section in your program plan where you have just fun things to do. So when you have a week when you go, I don't think we could do this anymore, pick out one of those field trips and go. Have a games day, play games. We had a lot of learning games in our home. So we played a lot of learning games. Try a different approach. Have dad teach for the day. Use a YouTube video instead of your textbook. Try different things. And if you need to, you can change curriculum. You're not a slave to your curriculum. It's there to serve you, not you serve it. Adjust your plans, and maybe you need to adjust your actual plan as well. So those are just some ideas for when things may not be working. Record keeping helps you to know what level your child is performing at. It helps you to maintain that record of progress should your child's progress ever come into question from a board of education, from child protection services or school board, and then gives you the evidence for in case of potential legal challenges. It can help you to assist your child in obtaining admission to university, and it can motivate and encourage you as a homeschool parent. Oh, look at all we've done. I love record keeping. So one way to do it is to turn your program plan, so we have our program plan that we talked about, into a record of progress. So here is some of the notes when we talked about one way on notes of progress. Well, green would have meant, actually highlighted would have meant we did these things. Crossed out meant, oh, we never got to that. Written in the middle are extra things that we decided to do. And then there's a star at the bottom that says, oh, I ended up keeping a list of books. So make that were read. So they were kept in a journal. So we'll go there. If we look over at the writing component, well, I have a note here. We'll continue using next year. It was a good program. The Writing to Pen Pals was very successful. And I would keep those letters from the pen pals. I wrote the dates that they were completed the language arts program and how much of the Simply Grammar program that we completed. We ended up not doing the mind benders, and we ended up watching 6 instead of 3 Shakespeare plays. So there's a lot of notes that can be taken and shown on your program plan. So this is a program plan turned note-taking resource, evaluation resource. And it became a planning tool for next year. If I go back a little bit, and if I look at the math in the upper left, I can see that we only completed to lesson 35. So we're going to start on lesson 36 next year. This is going to help me in my planning for next year as well. So in terms of record keeping records important. Keep dated information. Keep a stack of stuff. Keep your daily activities, a daily planner. But that's one thing that we used in some years of our home educating, is we would have a daily planner. When the kids were little, I would write math, English, just really basic items on what we were doing. And then the kids would check off what they had done. Later, they wrote down what they had done, and I would actually just go back and refer to what they had done. And then when they got older, we didn't use a daily planner. They kept track of what they were going to do. So again, specific to the child and their needs. Progress reports, keep record of your progress reports that you are writing and potentially submitting. Unit tests, we talked about that in our math. Test scores, so even if you're just doing impromptu tests or evaluations, if you don't want to call them tests with your kids, keep track of those. Just write it down. If I were using a curriculum, in the front of it, I may have all of their test scores. Chapter 1, here's the test scores. Chapter 2, and I would keep those test scores separate, but I would just have a simplified version of those. A portfolio of your work, the observation and journal keeping, like I showed, work samples, very important, especially in English when you get to the high school. If you're looking at using your portfolio for getting into university, very important to have written samples of your writing. Most universities will require samples of written work. Provincial tests, exams, Canadian test of basic skills results, those are options. These are all options. Monthly, daily, weekly evaluations. And I always kept a list of special activities, and some of those were actually for me as much as for the kids, because on days when I thought, have we ever accomplished anything? I would go back and just look at what we did, different field trips, the different activities that we did that maybe weren't in the program plan. I would transfer them to a special activities sheet and just write them down. So every month I would just go through my calendar and then transfer them in there. Reading lists, write down the actual books and authors that your kids are reading. That is very helpful. Course certificates and marks. If they're older and doing courses outside of your home, maybe an online program, we'll keep track of those certificates and marks. At home, if you're doing one with them, you make a course certificate and you give their mark and keep that, record that, and then have a transcript of their courses and marks, especially for the high school years. Keep record of the marks that you assign to your child in their high school studies. And then a high school portfolio. That's actually a workshop all on its own, developing a high school portfolio that you would keep your, I'm just going to leave this. If you need to refer to it, feel free to come back to it. Transcripts of marks, reading lists, dated writing samples, course records, extracurricular courses, employment and volunteer information, music and sporting awards, and special achievements. Those are all things that we have used to assist our children to get into post-secondary institutions, and we've been very successful with that. So I think we're reaching the end. If there's more that you need in terms of record keeping, there is more information available to HSLDA members. If you want more detailed work, there are portfolio guides, portfolio workshops, templates for various things